Okay, so you scheduled your transplant. You're probably thinking, okay, now what? What do I need to pack with me? How long should I stay? How, early should I come before my transplant? Things like that. Well, you are in luck, because in this video I'll share with you guys all my experience having 2 hair transplants myself. So let's jump into it. If you're excited, do me a solid, hit the subscribe button, that's gonna help me a lot. Let's start from the beginning. How many days off work you need to take? Usually you're gonna hear that it's absolutely fine to travel, the next day after your surgery. However, is it smart actually? Again, from my experience and knowledge, the first 72 hours are the most crucial for your graft survival, because it's very easy, to be clumsy, kind of, to bump your head, somewhere, or scratch it while you're sleeping, etc. That's why personally I've stayed for about 5 days or 5 nights after my both transplants, just to make sure all the grafts have the best possible chance to survive. I was taking it really easy, staying mainly in my hotel and basically chilling, just trying not to touch my, head at all times. And if you want more tips and tricks on, what and how to do immediately after your, transplant, I've done a whole series of videos. The first 2 weeks after my second transplant, make sure to check out this whole playlist. I'm gonna put the link just over here for you, for your convenience, so you actually know exactly what to do before the time it comes. Another thing that a lot of people are actually overlooking and not thinking, to be honest at all, is to be on medication like finasteride way back between 6 and 12 months before your actual transplant. And to be honest, most of the really great surgeons, they would actually advise you to do it anyways, and they most likely not even gonna take you, as a patient for the surgery if you decide not to be on finasteride for at least 6 months. And there are a couple of reasons for it. First of all, of course, is that you actually need to stabilize your hair loss. So of course, benefit of it is not just stabilization itself, but also there is a high chance you're gonna, get some regrowth from finasteride, especially if you're gonna be on it for at least 12 months before the surgery. And this in turn will minimize the amount of graft you actually needed. And since the grafts are quite finite, you need to be very careful with each individual graft on your donor area. You never know when you're gonna need them in the future. And another huge benefit of being on finasteride before surgery is that it can actually help prevent potential shock loss, because if the hair is miniaturized and thin and is really weak, and during the surgery they can simply go into telogen fluid, you're gonna experience some shock loss, and after the transplant you're gonna look way worse than you were looking just before the transplant. So if you want to avoid that, make your native surrounding hairs much stronger and thicker, get a finasteride for at least 6 months. And if you're not already on finasteride, today's video sponsor Manual can help you with that. Manual is a subscription British company catering to men's needs. Amongst many things they have to offer, they're actually helping men to treat their androgenetic alopecia. And of course it won't be some snake oils like we see elsewhere, but instead the only FDA approved treatments. They can even prescribe you topical finasteride and minoxidil mix for easy and convenient application. Make sure to follow the link in the description down below for 50% off your first hair loss treatment order, which will arrive at your doorstep in a discreet box. Oh, and also for your peace of mind, they are giving 180 days money back guarantee. So get in charge of hair loss now. I cannot stress it enough. So if that's in check, the other thing people are actually forgetting about is not to actually cut your hair. Why is that, you might think? Actually, the really good surgeon, they prefer for their patients not to cut their hair for about 3 to 4 weeks. So your hair gonna grow a bit longer all over, donor, on the recipient, on the top. And it doesn't really matter how much hair you have to begin with, because they will be able to see, the growth and directions basically of your native hair. So for them, it will be much more easy, to implant the transplanted hair. So they're gonna match your native, hair's directions, in order to achieve, the most natural result. Also, since we've been talking about medications, make sure to stop minoxidil for at least 7 days. Of course, make sure to double check with your clinic what they are suggesting, but usually it's between 7 to 14 days. The reason for this is really simple. Minoxidil is actually blood pressure medication, even if it's taken topically. It can increase your blood flow during the surgery, and it can be a lot of nasty complications because of that. For example, popping and extra bleeding, which is really not great. You need to try and control your bleeding, and stopping minoxidil before the surgery is usually the best thing to do. And for those of you who is microneedling, I would actually suggest to stop microneedling for at least 3 to 4 weeks, because it takes quite a long time for your scalp skin to heal properly, so it's basically ready for the surgery. If you went so far to this video, I hope you didn't book your plane tickets as of yet. Why, you might ask? I would suggest to book your plane seats as close to entrance as possible, preferably with some extra leg room. because once again, after the surgery, you're gonna be really clumsy, to be honest. Like, believe it or not, a lot of people just bumping their head to, you know, left or right. I bumped my head myself, you know, quite a few times. Thankfully, it was, you know, past that, you know, 5 days after the surgery, so my grafts were fine. But a lot of people bumping, you know, in the taxi, when they enter in the plane, etc. So, you know, just try to minimize the risk as much as possible. And once you arrive to your hotel, I would strongly advise you to do a proper shopping. Make a list of what exactly you would like to eat, or, you know, do, or whatever it is you need in the first, you know, couple of days after the surgery, so you don't actually need to, you know, leave your hotel. I know a lot of people would prefer to go and explore the city wherever they having the transplant. Personally, I like to stay on a safe side. Like, if you think about it, you spend so much time, money and energy, you know, to go somewhere else to do the transplant, and why risk? Like, come on, if you want to do some tourism, you know, activities, you can do it at any time. If you're gonna damage your grafts, game over. Your donor supply is finite. Be careful. Of course, when you're talking about what exactly you need to pack with you in your luggage, let's start from the basics. It's not a great idea to wear t-shirts. So in this case, it's best to pack some, you know, shirts and hoodies with like a zip. So it's gonna be really easy for you to put it on without, you know, possibly touching your head at all. So personally, I was taking at least 1 shirt per day and, you know, extra maybe 2 or 3 hoodies just in case if it's like a cold, you know, weather. Of course, if it's summer, just take one anyways. Make sure to buy a great travel pillow. I was using this one called Snuggle, and by the way, this is proof for that. Can you believe I was looking so terrible? Like, great to have hair. Anyways, take some time to choose a really great memory foam travel pillow, because it's definitely gonna, you know, be a lifesaver basically when you're trying to sleep, you know, to prevent your, you know, movement, during the night. And even when you're traveling, your head gonna sit, you know, comfortably on the, you know, on the travel pillow, and basically it's gonna be so much easier for you. If you're talking about shoes, make sure to grab something that is really easy to like slip in, very loose, like a trainers or slippers or whatever it is, sandals, whatever you like to wear. I think it's a great idea to grab a hand mirror with you, simply because, you know, if you're gonna be, you know, washing your, for example, donor by yourself, it's much easier, you know, just to see what you're actually doing, because again, your head gonna be completely numb. Trust me, you're not gonna be able to feel your head the way you're feeling right now. It's gonna be really awkward. You don't know where exactly you're rubbing. So, you know, hand mirror is definitely a must. And last but not least, entertainment. Probably actually one of the most important things, because, you know, if you're gonna stay for any whatever amount of days you decide to stay, it's gonna get boring. Like I said, I stayed up to 5 days, you know, after my transplants, and, you know, I stayed mostly in a hotel. I was not really going out much. It was really boring. So, you know, things got grabbed with me. My laptop, you know, I downloaded some movies beforehand, and I also was actually, you know, documenting my whole journey, you know, in my hair restoration network before my, you know, during my first transplant. Of course, during my second transplant, I was doing these YouTube videos every single day. So even though I had what to do, it's still, you know, great to kind of plan ahead and think, you know, maybe you need some books if you love to read, if you like to play some games, or if you like to watch some movies or YouTube, for example. Make sure to subscribe to the channel actually, because I've got plenty of useful videos that you probably don't want to miss while having your transplant. And now I already hear some people saying,
but Rolandas, what about hats? Why not suggesting to take hats? Because, you know, I don't want people to stare at my recipient area with like some bloody scabs.
if you really think about it, you shouldn't care what other people think about you. Let's start from that. And even if you do, let's think about transplant. You really don't want to touch your recipient area at all for the first at least 3 days, ideally 5 days. Why? Because you can easily dislodge the graft, so they will start growing in some, you know, different directions. And, you know, it's not gonna be looking really natural, to be honest. Another thing, you can easily pull them out if you put like the hat immediately after the surgery while going to your hotel. And actually know personally one person who immediately after the surgery put on a hat, was going back, you know, happy, and you know what, his whole transplant was like, it was just nothing grew. So, you know, rubbing things, not good. Try not to overthink. People really don't care. Everyone has their own problems, and even if they look at you and like, what the hell is happening, you know, with this guy's head, I can guarantee after 5 minutes they even forget you exist. In terms of things like saline, aloe vera, whatever it is, double check with your clinic. I strongly recommend to follow every single post-operational advice. Don't start doing whatever you see online, even me telling you something, because after all, if you trusted your head to the clinic that you went to, you have to trust them 100%. So basically do everything they tell you to do after the surgery. So if they're gonna suggest saline, most likely they would provide you. If they're gonna suggest you to put some aloe vera gel, most likely they will give it to you. If you think I've missed something crucial, or you've got any other useful tips and tricks, make sure to drop them in the comments down below. Let's help each other in this community, and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.